For joining me on 10 Tampa Bay Plus for our Weather Impact Live. Got a few things to talk about. Number one, of course, is how wonderful our weekend is looking. And then eventually, of course, we're going to see the return of a few showers. And probably why most of you are here, we're going to be talking about the tropics. Again, got the latest update at 11 a.m. And we're going to be watching for a system that is moving its way across the Atlantic. It did move its way off the coast of Africa on Friday, and we are looking at the potential for some tropical development there. So we'll get to that in just a second, because good news with Gabrielle and hopefully good news with that one as well, according to what the forecast models are showing now. Take a live look around. It is looking beautiful out there, a little different from what we had during the 8 o'clock hour with not a cloud in the sky. And now we're seeing Lakeland, a few clouds. Clearwater Beach looks beautiful out there. St. Petersburg, downtown Tampa, Armature Works, and of course, we got a lot going on today. Raymond James Stadium is looking great. There is out overlooking Tampa. Did see a beautiful shot of the SpaceX launch this morning. And there is your Truist building, which was lit up in the creamsicle. Right now, 85 feels like 90, though. So again, while we're dealing with mid-80s out there for your tailgating, it does feel just a little bit hotter than that. And there's your St. Pete cam. It looks beautiful out there as well. Clearwater Beach, really couldn't ask for a better day today. And your beach forecast is looking good. So take a look at that. So 83 degrees at the beach right now. And we'll see that climb to the upper 80s. Water temperature 83 as well. So actually a little refreshing there if you get in the water. UV index is a 9, so you got to wear lots of sunscreen. And the good news is it's been a perfect weekend, and our rain chances, as you can see from that, are very low. We will have a few more clouds building in later today along the coast. They're building in a little bit more inland right now, and our rain chances remaining low, which is great news. Also for that marine forecast, seas at 1 to 2 feet, and we're going to see those winds north-northeast about 5 to 10 knots for the afternoon with a light chop in the bay. So currently, here's your temperatures. We do have low to mid-80s for most of us. Port Manatee at 79, and there's your dew points. A little bit higher than yesterday. You got 72 to 76 for those dew points, so we're not seeing any 60s out there. So about the same, or most of us, you see 1 to 2 degree difference. So most of us about the same or a little bit more. Got a couple of spots that'll less, but it feels like temperatures 90 for Riverview, Tampa, 91 Bartow, 93 Frostproof, 90 for Brooksville, and 90 for Sarasota as well. So current dew points, as you can see, they're high, even all the way up to Jacksonville. Even Tallahassee sitting at 66 for a dew point is not that comfortable. A little bit more comfortable down to the south. Palm Beach, 74, 78 for Miami, and 79 for Key West. We won't quite get that high, but we will see what they have in Palm Beach there for the second half of this upcoming week. So those are going to be going up. Right now, things are looking great on the satellite radar. You see where those clouds are pushing in from the northeast, and a few showers south of Jacksonville. And you see that trough that is across the Bahamas. It's been hanging out there. Eventually, we're going to see it stretched across the area, but that won't be until Tuesday. So there's your rain chances. Again, today, really low. Tomorrow, down to the south, and there's your Tuesday. Wednesday to Thursday, they go back down before coming back up for the weekend, next weekend, at least for the start of it. I'll show you that in just a second. So Futurecast looking good. There's your chance for showers about 5 p.m. So the good news is if you're heading out to the Bucks game, you're looking good there. No worries, because the game should end between 4:30, and that right there is your 10% chance. Nothing much going on, and there you go, right around to shortly, right before sunset, 7 o'clock. Things wind down tonight, what little we have, and then same thing for your Monday, looking pretty good. There's all the way to almost the evening commute, and there's your better rain chances for Polk, Highlands, Hardy, DeSoto. It'll push down to the south. Polk County will dry out before sunset, and most of the activity will stay down to the south, stretching from Sarasota to Lake Placid and to the south. And then we'll see the shower activity moving up for Tuesday. And this is the reason why. There's that trough stretched across as a stalled front. There's your best rain chance we have for the week. There's your Tuesday. Now, as we go towards the weekend, look at this cold front coming in. And we are also going to talk about this cold front when we talk about the tropics coming up here soon, because now forecast models are suggesting, and they have been since yesterday, that this one's actually going to come through. Now, Friday's European model had this front stretching right here and then pushing back to the north, which of course is bad news because that opens the door for anything tropical to come through. But the good news is now it has it come through and possibly stalling Monday into Tuesday. This cold front right here will be our main focus going into the following week, September 29th, 30th, into the beginning of October, to see what happens with that, because that have a big impact on the tropics. Again, that's coming up here in just a minute. Dew point forecast, again, it is going to be muggy next week, especially second half of the week into next weekend. This is with that front coming through Friday, 76, because that's the front not here just yet. Saturday, the front will actually move through. And of course, you know, that means heat index 101. Now, we're not looking at oppressive or dangerous heat index, but still very uncomfortable Wednesday into Thursday. With those lower rain chances, it's going to feel hot and humid. Even tomorrow, 99. And then it does go down a little Saturday. Again, that's just because of the rain chances. Drought conditions, not bad for our area. And you can see the forecast rainfall is not looking at too much. Now, this goes all the way through 11 p.m. on Saturday. So this is your entire 7-day forecast. And as you can see here, anywhere from a half an inch to an inch. So again, not looking at abundance of rainfall there for the entire 7-day forecast. And it does look like beyond that we have a slight chance of seeing some above average activity, but we'll see, because again, we keep getting these fronts coming through, which is nice. Again, that is not typical for this time of year. And your allergy forecast is not looking too good either. Today and Sunday, both medium high. A little bit better Monday and Wednesday, but still, you got that grass coming in. So let's wrap up this weekend, and there it is. You see, home of the crew. Raymond James Stadium, where, of course, we have kickoff coming up here in just a couple of hours, and it is already feeling hot. 85, again, feeling like 90 there. And your forecast is beautiful there, so 86 degrees is what you're going to expect here over the course of this hour. And then by the time we get to kickoff, you're at 90 degrees, feeling like 95, and then 92 for the second half, feeling like 98. So it is going to be hot out there. You're going to see a lot of sunshine. You got to have that sunscreen if you're heading out there. Probably most people, if you're heading to the game, are already out there tailgating. But the good news is your rain chances there throughout the game very low. You will pick up a few more clouds. Then you got to hightail it out of there, because this is the Rays' last home game in Steinbrenner. And that is going to be tonight against the Red Sox. First pitch, 7:35, 91 degrees at 6. Now, the parking lot, the main parking lot there, doesn't open up till 6:05. Of course, it's because the Bucs game. So if you plan on heading out there early, unfortunately, you're not going to have anywhere to park. So take that into account. 6:05, the parking lot opens to be able to park for the Rays game. First pitch, 7:35, so that's not bad. Gives you an hour and a half to get parked, get up, get your seat. By first pitch, we're looking at temperatures about 88 to 89, and there will be mid-80s throughout the game. So that is wonderful there, because, again, your rain chances are very low. Let's go back to the 7-day forecast, and you can see there the low rain chances today, tomorrow. There's your 40. Back down Wednesday, Thursday, back up Friday into Saturday. And if that front does move through down to our south, things are going to be looking good for your Sunday. So let's quickly shift to the tropics, because we do have a lot to talk about here for the remainder of this, as we are going to be tracking a couple of systems. Now, Tropical Storm Gabrielle, still 65-mile-per-hour winds moving to the northwest at about 12 miles an hour. It is expected to become a hurricane today, and then strengthen up just a little bit more. So conditions are getting a little bit more favorable. It's got some pretty good convection with it, but just not really seeing that eye. And that's what, of course, will show signs of strengthening there. So there is Tropical Storm Gabrielle. There's your hurricane later this evening. And look at this now. This is the latest model run. Shows as it moves its way to the north and then northeast, again, more favorable conditions, a little less wind shear. It moves its way out of that dry air. Could possibly become a Category 2 as we go throughout tonight into early tomorrow. And again, there is Bermuda. The good news with that is, as you can see, if it holds kind of true to the track, you're probably close to 200 miles. That does help a lot, especially because, of course, we all know when it comes to tropical systems, your strongest winds, your hurricane force winds, are right around the eye. And then as this extends out, this is not a very large hurricane, thankfully. So as it extends out, they'll get tropical storm force winds. But again, it is not looking too bad for them, especially, once again, since they are on the west side of this storm. Continue to play this out. It strengthens up, again, to a Category 2 tomorrow evening at 110, and then slowly starts to weaken. and then gets picked up and moved out by the jet stream. Of course, there is your spaghetti model, still looking great there with Bermuda. Very tight on this one, actually, all the way until we get to next weekend, and then it starts to, of course, spread out just a little bit. But all in all, that looks pretty good. And again, your European and your GFS models show the same thing. Not much movement in the model runs there. So your ensembles are in very good agreement on where this one's going. What we're watching again is this next one. And so this is the one that, again, we could see the potential for tropical development. Not much going on for today and tomorrow, and really not much going on up until maybe midweek or towards the end of next week. And that's why the National Hurricane Center has given it a marginal risk there. It's a medium risk. Low goes up to 30%, 40 to 60 is the medium, above that is a high. So, and this again is just over the next 7 days. So what we're looking at again is this. You don't see much there, and you're not going to see much until it gets into this area. But what some forecast models are showing, it's really not till it gets just south of where Gabrielle is right now until we finally see development, and that won't be until, again, the second half of next week. So next name on the list is Humberto. Gabrielle, of course, will be only our second hurricane of the season, with Aaron the first, and again, the first major hurricane. Gabrielle not expected to become a major hurricane. But again, the next name on the list will be Humberto. So I'm going to show you why it is going to be pretty slow to develop, and it's pretty easy to see. This is Gabrielle, and again, you can still see it pulling in some of that dry air, some of that dust. But look where that wave is right now. That came off the coast of Africa, again, on Friday, and it is just embedded in a lot of dry air, a lot of dust. So there is Gabrielle moving its way past Bermuda, and look at all that. There's your circulation there, and this is Tuesday. Now, as we get towards the end of the week, the dust does lighten up just a little bit, but it's still there. Again, kind of what Gabrielle's dealing with right now still, and you can see that circulation here. Now, this one's the European model, because I'll show you the GFS. We don't have an invest in it yet, so I can't show you anything but those two models. We'll more than likely get an invest sometime next week. Again, this one's going to be very slow. And then once it moves its way into slightly favorable conditions, looks like it could strengthen maybe past Bermuda. So we could see maybe some good news with this one passing in Bermuda as maybe just a tropical storm before it moves into a better environment. But then you see what's back behind that. Again, still quite a bit of dust out there, which again is some good news. But as we go through the month of October into November, we are going to be shifting our focus. I'll show you that in just a second. So we are seeing a little bit of wind shear. Again, this is what we're dealing with right now. It's right here, moving here. You see that Gabrielle is still dealing with some of that wind shear. And this right here, this is the trough. There is your jet stream right there. That's going to eventually pick it up and move it. So there's Gabrielle moving its way up and out. And again, really picking up some speed. So here we go into Wednesday, expecting this next one to be probably right here at that time. And watch what happens as we keep going through Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then into Sunday. So there it is finally. But again, still a lot of wind shear around it. You see wind shear to the east, not too much to the southwest of it. But then as it moves this way past Bermuda, look what happens. It gets picked up by this big trough, the jet stream. And this trough, again, is that cold front. I'll show you that in just a second. So let's take a look at the models. Here's your GFS model. This one, again, we'll watch these because it goes model run where it doesn't show anything. The next one, it picks up something. The next one doesn't pick up anything. So a little bit more back and forth. So that's why it's good that we're watching, of course, this far out. So what we're going to watch is for consistency in these model runs, really the course of today, tomorrow, and into Tuesday. So again, there is Wednesday at 5 p.m. Of course, you see the green there. That green is the high pressure, and it extends, as you can see, all the way down into the central Atlantic. Now, there's Gabrielle moving its way up and out, and then look at Saturday, but look at where the GFS has this one. I'll show you the model comparison here in just a minute. But it has it closer to the Bahamas, kind of forming right over Turks and Caicos, and then going up towards the Bahamas. Again, this is Saturday the 27th. And then look here. Later on that day, it shows it skirting the Outer Banks. Now remember, it did this one to Aaron as well. Actually, I think there was a couple of model runs the GFS showed Aaron hitting Florida. And you see how far that one, of course, stayed out. So we'll watch this to look for the next couple of runs, and there it does, moves its way up and out. The high pressure builds in back behind it. And you can see that pretty good here on your forecasted winds. Of course, there's Gabrielle up to the north, moving its way past Bermuda. But there it starts to develop it. You can start to see that circulation. And look, again, there it is, just north of Turks and Caicos, not making landfall, moving across the Bahamas, still very weak. It does start to strengthen. And if it would take this track, it would strengthen up a little bit more just because the dust is more in this area. That dry air is more in this area. But it, again, the GFS and the European models have a different idea of what the cold front is going to be doing this weekend. So that could be the potential of why that one is so close to the coast. And there it is, moving its way up and then out. So I'm going to show you the European model coming up next. And this is the one, again, it really hasn't been too consistent either, but it shows a different story. Here we go with your pressure. Of course, green is high pressure, yellow is low pressure. There's Gabrielle as a hurricane moving its way up and out, becoming extratropical. Now watch all the way here. We're going to Sunday, and look at the difference that we're seeing. Again, the GFS was here on Friday, and then by Saturday afternoon was here. Now here's Sunday with the European model. Now again, I'm going to show you the comparisons here, and then not really strengthening until it moves its way up and past Bermuda, and that does look like it follows roughly the same track as Gabrielle does. Again, you'll see that here with your forecasted winds. There is Gabrielle moving its way up and out. There's a Category 2. And then here we go. Wednesday, Thursday, into Friday. Still not seeing too much, but there it is. You can really start to see it just a little bit. Could be a tropical depression or maybe even a tropical storm by then. And then watch it just slowly push its way up towards Bermuda, and there is 8 p.m. or 8 a.m. excuse me, on Sunday. So remember, Sunday the GFS, we were all the way up here, and it was Saturday afternoon here. And so here is Sunday with the European model, and there it is, very slowly pushing its way up and out, strengthening up more than likely. Again, a hurricane, maybe even a Cat 1, Cat 2. We'll see what happens with that, but that does look just like it. Like Gabrielle, because again, there's Gabrielle. There is where it's going to be 7 a.m. on Tuesday, and that's where it's thinking. The next one's going to be probably, I would say, let's see if it's, about 7 p.m. on Tuesday. So it has it following the same. So let's compare both forecast models, and you'll see that here where the European model is a lot further to the east, which is, of course, better news, but neither one of them show it coming close to our coast, which would mean moving through the Florida Straits. So here we're comparing the forecast models, and then there we go with Gabrielle. That moves this way up and out. So here's Friday again. Here's Friday, there's your GFS, and there's where it just starts to maybe show up here at the European model. And then there we go. Look at it move its way up the coast. There's 2 p.m. on Sunday, and there's the European 2 p.m. on Sunday. And so you can see how big the difference is. And then a hurricane moving its way to the east of Bermuda. So look at the difference that we have here in these two models, and you can see the distance of the two. And that's close to 1,000 miles difference. So that is a big difference there. And you can see when it moves its way, again, around the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, and to the Bahamas, we'll look for the proximity that it is to us. And again, still showing about 700 miles away. So still pretty good far away, but again, the forecast models don't really agree on that one. Going back to this tropical steering flow, we talk about this all the time. So there is your high pressure. There is Gabrielle moving its way up. High pressure slides to the south. It gets picked up by the jet stream and moves quickly up and out. So it all really depends on where this high pressure is, because again, this is the European model. There's your high pressure. And there it is. There's what is potentially Umberto moving its way to the east of Bermuda, which is good news. So let's go back and show you here, go back to show the cold front. Because again, this is going to be the difference maker for us. Here comes the cold front coming in Friday into Saturday. And again, this is the European model showing it actually moving its way through. I'll show you with the water vapor because it's really easy to see where this cold front is going to be going into the following week. Again, this is not this Tuesday, Wednesday. Next Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll see if this cold front holds together. So here is your precipitable water. This is your mid-level moisture. Pretty easy to see where a cold front comes in. And then you just saw it here. Way here in the corner of the picture is Gabrielle moving its way up and out. So here comes the front. Here we go Friday. And then, let me back this up because I want to show you this here. So again, here we go Friday. And you see the circulation here. And again, this is the European model. There's your circulation. And then there's the front. And then there's it pushing its way out. So that one was the GFS. Here is the European model. So look at the difference of the two, where you could see this wind, again, got both of them lined up here. So this area here, let me see if I can get the pointer back up for you. You see the big difference. So here is where the GFS is. Here is where the European model is, kind of right outside the picture there, right on the very corner of the picture. So you're seeing that difference again. By the time we get to 5 p.m. on Saturday, you're looking at 920 to 950 miles difference in where these systems show it's going to be going. So again, it's all about the timing. So if the GFS is quicker on the timing, it would get closer and would get pushed out by the front. Whereas you can see, again, here we go with the European model right here, showing that one getting pushed up and out of Bermuda, which is good news. Go back to the European model, and we'll see that right here because I kind of highlight it for you. So there's Gabrielle moving its way up and out. And then as the cold front comes in, there's where we're starting to see a little development possibly. And again, I added on the high pressure here at this point to kind of show you where the European model is showing both of these. So again, here's your cold front. Here is Sunday. There we are. It pushes down to the south. There's where we have the circulation. There's your high pressure sliding its way out. And then that front stalling and kind of giving it a block. But you see also, again, that high pressure starts to slide its way towards the east. So that is what we're going to be watching as we go throughout really this upcoming week. Because again, it's all about the cold front. This coming week into the weekend, we're looking for model consistency with both the European and the GFS. And what they're not consistent on is just the timing, because the GFS shows it a lot further to the west whenever this front comes through. So we'll see which one has the timing better. But again, if the timing is that, then it will come a little closer to Turks and Caicos and the Bahamas when that front pushes in Saturday and then down to our south on Sunday. If it's a little slower developed, like the European model is showing, then that front moves further to the east before that develops. So we'll keep an eye on that. Okay, after these two, let's take a look at the tropical outlook over the course of September 24th through the 30th. And again, this is what we're going to be watching the following week. There's your area that we're going to see here for next week. And then beyond that, you can see it shifts again. We're still looking at, again, you see this is less than 20% potential here, but also looking at this area here. This is what I'm talking about. October into November, we start to see that shift out of the main development region and then into what is going to be, it was going to be the Caribbean and into the Gulf because of your tropical heat potential. So let's take a look at that. And again, this is, you kind of see, I'll load this up here. You see here, this is where you're seeing that potential for that wave that we're watching right now. But there's all your tropical heat in the main development region. Now, as we go throughout next week, look at that. So again, this is where we shift our focus to when it comes to early October and then all the way into November. That is where you see more systems develop. We're going to see the monsoon season in Africa start to come to an end. That's where all our waves come from, and that happens through the month of October, where that's why we shift our focus, and we'll keep an eye on the wind shear there to see if we get any developing there. And you see, that is where all the heat is. It's in the Bahamas, it's around Haiti, Dominican Republic, and there it is, south of Cuba. There's Jamaica, there's Mexico, where we see things develop here. and then or develop in this area here and then move their way up towards the north. Now, we know we have an anniversary coming up this week, and this is the reason why I want to talk about that, is because that is where, let me open this up for you because I don't know why the camera did that. You're seeing here, and I want to show you this because this is why we watched that area here. That is where Hurricane Helene developed, September 24th, 2024. Of course, we all know it made landfall on the 26th in the Big Bend as a major hurricane, and then extratropical and just devastation. Big storm. Didn't come anywhere near here. That's really, when it comes to tropics, not very close. But we were on the eastern side of this. We had a lot of storm surge out of Hurricane Helene. And again, that 26th anniversary is coming up here in just 5 days, where we had this push its way up across just to the west of the Bay Area and up into the Big Bend. But again, this just shows that shift of our focus, because of that area there is where there is a lot of tropical heat out there right now. And so we'll watch now. Now here we are for hurricane season, and we are now from, I think it's mid-August all the way through mid-October, 93% of hurricane